Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. Today, we're diving into the next section of the book. The key to fixing bad behavior is not about finding the right consequence. We have been so consumed with the consequences with parenting, and I would say with society, thinking the way I'm going to fix something is give somebody a punitive consequence. Let's jump into the book. I say the word consequence sounds so much better than punishment, don't you think? But when you send your child to timeout, you make them do extra work, or let them know they can't play with friends because they've acted out, you're giving them a punishment if you're doing it because you want them to learn their lesson, you want them to suffer. Punishment means to make someone suffer in an attempt to teach them a lesson, and it sounds awful. We use punishments thinking we're going to help. We think that somehow, somewhere, our kids are going to comply if we just use a punishment, that is the solution. And sometimes they do comply, but not because the punishment is teaching a moral lesson about respect or responsibility. The punishment is not teaching the child an emotional lesson. It's not teaching them how to regulate their emotions or deal with disappointment so that they don't act that way next time. No. The child complies because they want to get the punishment over as quickly as possible. There's a crazy thing that happens while you deliver the punishment for their off-track behavior. You're typically experiencing a bit of off-track behavior yourself. You yell and don't listen to them because they're not listening to you. You use harsh words while you're trying to correct them for using or saying harsh words. They hit their sister, so you spank them. Now, don't beat yourself up if you've done these things I just mentioned. We all have. Give yourself a high five because you're here today in this moment learning a new way. You've been doing your best with the tools you've had. You want your kids to reach their fullest potential. You're a good parent, and up until now, we just thought that correcting was the solution, that correcting quickly and often was what was going to create great children and was what the responsible parent did. But this only keeps us stuck. But now you're here, you're seeing that there's other ways, and we're going to start unpacking those. Why am I even saying consequences aren't the solution? And then if they're not the solution, you're probably asking, what is the solution? Culturally, it's normal to give a correction if your child has off-track behavior. It's normal because everyone around you thinks that correction is going to fix the behavior and teach him a lesson. It's no wonder you've come to believe that discipline is the essence of parenting. We're swimming in the water, literally diving in. It's hard to get out. We're drowning in it. When your child doesn't clean their room and you ground them, hoping that this will get this reluctant child to start cleaning his room, you feel like you've done what a good parent should do. But now the relationship after giving that consequence feels a bit or a lot strained. He is frustrated with you and less likely to want to clean his room on his own next time. So it's backfiring. There's a short-lasting impact on the behavior you want to change and a long-lasting impact on the relationship you want to strengthen. Here's where it gets so interesting. You might have just enough success getting your child to listen that your brain's going to think, success. Give them a consequence, they clean their room. You get a little dopamine hit. Your brain collects data. It suggests that consequencing the kids into listening works. And it starts this loop, this parenting loop that keeps you consequencing repeatedly, even though there's no sustained change in your child's behavior, meaning the next day, they're not miraculously deciding to clean their room. You have to do the consequent thing again. Corrective parenting is such a hard habit to break. One, because we think correction is synonymous with parenting. We're taught it everywhere, home, school, society. It's modeled as the way to deal with behavior problems. It's rare that I find someone who doesn't default to rewards and punishments when there's a behavior problem with their kids. And sometimes it works. If we can find the right thing to take away or to give, we can alter behavior short term, but it comes at a cost. Here's the essential ingredient. Your kids, they're going to break rules. They're going to break rules. They're going to struggle to be nice. They're going to get irritated with their siblings. My kids used to have this thing with feet. If feet were anywhere near them, they would just get so frustrated. You are going to have to respond. That's the job of a parent. We think, we'll give a consequence and I'll no longer have to respond to that kind of behavior. But immaturity comes with the role, comes with the job description. It's the role of the parent to help our immature kids navigate things until they can do it on their own. Your kids have parents for a reason. They don't have the judgment or the maturity or the prefrontal brain cortex functioning at the level of an adult. And so that's why they need you. They need you to help them as they mature, as they grow, as they develop over the years. If they didn't need you and me and whoever else is coming alongside as a parental figure to guide and teach them and set limits when they messed up and struggled and failed, then they wouldn't need a parent. But that's not how human beings become mature. We need a parent along our side. But the most essential ingredient for your child's healthy development is your unconditional love and acceptance. Your love and acceptance creates an environment where your child believes she or he is exactly who you want him or her to be. She doesn't need to change to earn or deserve your love. She feels secure in your love. She knows there is nothing she could do that would destroy or remove your love for her. I often use the phrase, taking it for granted, meaning that they can take the relationship for granted, not you for granted, but the relationship for granted, knowing that nothing is going to get in the way, is going to destroy it, is going to change a relationship with them. That foundational part, that unconditional love, is as steady and as sure as the sun will rise every morning. And when our kids feel so safe with us, that they know that they can show up at their worst, and it won't change your relationship or the way you feel about them, even if they're rude, challenging, unpleasant, ornery, you have got her back. You are on his or her team. When our kids know that our love is unconditional, that your relationship with your child is so solid that they can trust you with all of them. The trust you have with your child runs deep when you get to that place. And you can send the message that this behavior is unacceptable without sending the message that your child is unacceptable. This is possible. It's possible for your child to feel comfortable bringing her hurts, frustrations, least likable parts of themselves to you, to show you the parts that maybe they hide from everyone else, but they bring it to you because they feel safe and supported. They bring their insecurities, their terrible behavior, knowing that you have the wisdom to understand that she's actually not difficult or rude, or he's actually not, entitled or unkind. But instead they know that even though they might behave that way sometimes, that you see through their behavior. You see through their lack of judgment. Because you know as a parent that what your child needs right now is unconditional love and acceptance, no judgment. Might they need some limits? Might they need some changes in their environment? Maybe. Maybe they need to have their phone close to you. Maybe they need to not be able to use it. Maybe they need to not be able to go out with friends. Maybe they need less toys in their room. Maybe they need an earlier bedtime. But that limit is made without judgment. Your brain is going to tell you that you need to fix the problem with a consequence. That's 9 times out of 10 what our brains are going to offer. But you don't need to fix anything. You only need to love your child, set appropriate boundaries, be confident, And all of the fixing will work out on its own. It really, really will. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that. It's kind of a shorter episode today. Well, let me look. Actually, no, I'm going to finish this chapter. Just kidding. So the next section in my book, I talk about this story where in 2018, I got to take my family on a trip to Bolivia. It was amazing. We got to serve and help and sightsee and go on this adventure with one of my dearest friends in the whole wide world. And on our way there, we stopped in Peru to see Machu Picchu, which is one of my favorite places. I had always wanted to go there. I was really intrigued by it. And so we get there and we have not taken the long path. We took the train and then we took the bus up, and it was maybe 30 minutes from where the bus dropped us off to Machu Picchu. The views were amazing. Just the train, the bus, it was just amazing. So we get off the bus. I dreamed of this moment for decades, ever since I learned about Machu Picchu in elementary school. We'd been learning about it as a family in preparation for this moment. All the things that we could read and study about it, we had been doing it. And I was holding the hand of my 10-year-old at the time, and I was soaking in all of the amazing surroundings. I couldn't believe we were there. We were in Peru. We were seeing Machu Picchu. And my 10-year-old began to melt down. Granted, I don't know what it is. It's high. The elevation at Machu Picchu is very, very high, higher than she had ever been. We had a steep incline that we had to walk/hike up. And my amazing 10-year-old, she was 10 at the time, who's always had such a big heart and really sensitive and wears her emotions on her sleeves. And I just adore her. And it was overwhelming to her. I think all the things. She probably hadn't slept well. It was really high elevation. She was nervous. The bus ride up was kind of scary. And she melted down and she's like, I don't know if I can make it. She said her lungs were on fire. Her legs were killing her. And I was annoyed. I really was. I mean, I'm just going to lay it out how it was. I was annoyed. I was upset. I was irritated. I was judging her. I was very much resisting how she was showing up. She wasn't supposed to be acting like this. Didn't she know what a big deal this was? This was a big deal. I wanted to enjoy the view without the distraction of her complaints. That's what my brain thought. You don't need to tolerate this little person complaining. They're so entitled. All of the judgmental, thoughts came through my head. And I stayed in that state of resistance, mad, frustrated, upset for a minute or so. I'd been working really hard, thank goodness, on this before we got there for years and years. So I noticed it initially, or I should say I noticed it after a minute. And I thought, okay, take a deep breath, Andy. This is something that you want to notice, that you want to become aware of. You don't want to just unconsciously resist this, because that's going to just ruin the entire thing for you. So as soon as I had the awareness of it, and that's what usually happens for me, is I have this awareness of, oh my gosh, I'm acting in a way that I'm not proud of. I don't want to continue to act this way. It's not going to create the result I want. So I slowed down and I became aware of what was happening. And unlike the many times before when I had judged myself, judged my child, saying, why aren't you acting or being a different way? I tried to accept everything just as it was. And this is one of the core principles I live by. It's tied into connect method parenting. It's tied into how I see the world. This core principle of trying to drop the resistance, trying to fight against reality because we lose every time. Believing that everyone is doing their best, even if their best is really bad that day. And it helped me stay present in the moment instead of catastrophizing the moment, which, believe me, I'd done plenty of times in the past. But this was such an important moment for me that I really didn't want to miss my chance to enjoy Machu Picchu. And I couldn't change my daughter, so I had to change myself. Like Gandhi so wisely said, be the change we wish to see in the world. And I embraced that in this moment. And I told myself, nothing's gone wrong. Nothing has gone wrong. I trust that this is exactly how it's supposed to be, because this is exactly how it is. And if I resist it, then I'm just resisting the world and what it's presenting to me in this moment. And I repeated that to myself again and again. Nothing's gone wrong. And I held her hand and I said, I know this is so hard for you, but look at you choosing to take another step. You're showing me and yourself that you can push through even when it's hard. And I stopped making her wrong for thinking she couldn't make it. I stopped thinking that it should be any different. And I started focusing on just being present with her. We sat down a couple of times. Everyone else went ahead. I said, go ahead. Because they were kind of frustrated too. And I decided to just be with her. And I believed in her goodness. And I said to myself, whatever happens, it's exactly what I'm going to appreciate and be grateful for that is happening. I'm going to accept this moment instead of resisting it. It's all I can do. And for the next 20 minutes, I continued to focus on what was working, the good she was doing, every step she was taking. And something inside her clicked. She started to believe that she was successful. She could feel, I think, the resistance in me leave and not fighting against who she was being. She believed she could do the hike up the next 30 minutes after all. It was remarkable. And we did. We made it to the precipice where you get to look out and you see Machu Picchu so clearly. And there were alpaca everywhere. It was amazing. And she was so proud of herself. And for the next 5 hours or so, we explored the majesty of Machu Picchu. And she was pleasant, and she was excited, and she was looking all around. And the reason it worked this time is because I decided to come alongside her emotions, decided to come alongside her experience. I decided to be with her instead of against her, and to be with myself instead of against myself. I could witness the resistance and I could be with myself too and say, nothing's gone wrong. It makes sense. This is a big deal for you and it makes sense. And because I was so consciously aware of that, I was able to be consciously aware of her. And we connected. And she truly felt that I was there for her, not against her. Connection for the win. It was amazing. I'd accepted my daughter exactly where she was. No changes required. And I let myself be exactly where I was at. I felt my emotions, even the negative ones. I stayed present in the moment. I let them process through my body in the stillness of that majestic mountain. It was a beautiful experience for both of us. Now, I tell you that story not to make you think that every time I run up against something like that, I perform perfectly. I don't. But I tell you the story because it is possible for every single one of us to have moments like that if we believe it's possible. If we believe that we can make the change by being the change. If we can accept what is by accepting ourselves and everyone else and realize that whatever is supposed to happen is going to happen. Now, what does this have to do with the chapter about, learning that consequences aren't the thing, that parenting is not correction? I think it has everything to do with it, because as long as we're resisting and we're trying to change and manipulate and do it externally from this place of force, we are going to be resisting reality, and it's never going to create the long-term change or the relationship or the peace or the impact we want with ourselves, with our kids, with our world, with our life. One of the hardest things I have ever had to grapple with is accepting that reality is exactly that. It is reality. It is the truth. It is what life is presenting me in this moment. And it's my choice, my freedom, my choice, my agency comes from this moment in time where I get to decide, do I go this way or that way? Do I resist? Do I accept? Do I feel my emotions or do I resist them? That is where our choice and agency come from. And when we can see our kids in all of their shenanigans and start by asking ourselves, how do I want to show up in this moment? How would I want someone else to show up in this moment if I was my child? What would I respond best to? A consequence, a threat, or an invitation to be seen and heard and then to be guided through whatever the next steps are from a place of love and service? If I had threatened my daughter, hey, if you do not get yourself to the precipice of Machu Picchu, like you are going to lose. And I could have started throwing out all sorts of other things we were doing. That zip line we're going to do later, or you're not going to be able to go to this restaurant that we're going, there's so many things I could have started leveraging, and it would have felt terrible and it would have changed the way we felt. But instead, when we come alongside, we create the ability for better behavior, better relationship, and a much better time all around. So if you're following along in my book, the next section, this is chapter 1, the end of chapter 1. It's on page 29, I believe. There's a section at the end of almost every chapter called Your Turn. And here's what I'm challenging you to do. You can rip this open in the book and read it. It says, find your why. If your dream is to be a better parent, you'll need to tap into your why to become the connected parent that doesn't flip their lid when their kids are fighting with each other. If you know your why, it will change the way you show up for your kids. Most importantly, it will be your compass. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, do we need one of those. Have you ever tried to find your way out of a forest without a compass? So here's some questions I ask. Why did you decide to have kids? Why did you want to be a parent? How do you feel when you're around your kids? Why are you willing to deal with all of the behavior, the tantrums, the attitudes, the not listening that your kids have? And why is being a parent important to you? The next section I say, set a goal. That's what it's called. I'm instructing you to set a goal. And to get to the heart of your parenting, I really do believe that we need to set a goal. We need to get clear on what we want to create, a specific measurable goal. I mean, I love that I want to love my kids, but if your goal is to love your kids more, it's too vague. It's going to be really hard to do anything actionable with that. Probably nothing's going to change. So I would dial it down, get more specific. Love your kids more at bedtime. That would be more specific. Make it even more specific. Be patient when they ask for water 5 times after you leave at bedtime. Get it even more measurable. I'm creating a bedtime plan where I anticipate them asking for water 5 times, or fill in whatever obstacles that you come up against at bedtime. And then how are you going to show up with love and patience no matter what when they do those things? Ask for water, ask for another hug, ask for another story, whatever it is. Define what patience and love look like for you. Okay? I want you to, that's an assignment here. I want you to really define what patience and love look like for you. And once you've got that, take a few minutes and create your goal. Mind you, I said your goal, not goals. Just pick one thing, one and only one thing to do right now. All right. And I do have some resources that I created a few years back that go along with this that you can download at cmp.works/the book. And it's things that you can get to work through some of these exercises I'm going to be challenging you to do. All right, well, that's the end of today's episode. We have finished chapter 1. We're going to get into chapter 2 next time, which is called Control, the Controllables, which is one of the most fantastic things we can do, and also might be a little new if you've never read the book, or maybe you're going through a second time. Maybe you'll have a new perspective of it, have a new commitment to control the controllables. There's so many things we can't control, but there's also so many things we can. And when it comes to parenting, knowing the difference is going to make all of the difference in how you're able to show up with your kids. We want to be that calm, connected, confident, compassionate alpha parent, but we got to start with ourselves. And when we begin to be the change we wish to see in the world, with our kids, with our life, with our family, you will be astounded at what begins to happen. All right, until next time, you all, go connect with your kids, have a blast with them, play a game that they're not expecting, preempt the connection time by offering something that you know they love, but they haven't asked for yet. They will love it. And we'll check back soon. Talk to you all later. Have a wonderful day. Bye. Thanks so much for listening, you all. If you are ready to learn more about Connect Method Parenting, if you've been listening to the podcast and you think, ooh, I'd love to be able to implement this in my life and with my parenting more, then check out Pivot. It's my 8-week program where we deep dive into learning and implementing Connect Method Parenting so that you can take this information and transform your parenting journey. Head over to connectmethodparenting.com to find out when the next group starts.